For 6 years, the flashy girl from Flushing brought neon colors into our grayscale lives. We remember the leopard prints and that iconic nasal laugh that could shatter glass. But behind the radiant smile lay a woman who had survived unspeakable violence in her own home, using comedy as a shield against a haunting trauma. We also mourn the quiet departure of the cigarette-smoking grandma who stole every scene. Tonight, we look past the fashion to honor the brave survivors of the Sheffield mansion. Charles Shaughnessy as Maxwell Sheffield. Long before he was the exasperated object of Fran Fine's affection, Charles Shaughnessy was already walking a path defined by privilege and expectation. Born on February 9, 1955, into a world far removed from the sound stages of Hollywood, he carried the weight of a creative and aristocratic lineage. By the time he walked onto the set of The Nanny, he was a seasoned performer of 38 years old, having already cut his teeth in the dramatic world of daytime soaps. Yet there was a quiet nobility about him, quite literally, that the cameras could sense but not fully explain. He wasn't just acting the part of a refined gentleman, he was channeling generations of British history, preparing to step into a role that would define his career forever. As Maxwell Sheffield, Shaughnessy provided the perfect stoic anchor to the whirlwind of energy that was The Nanny. We loved him because he represented the classic romantic trope, the emotionally distant man who is slowly, hilariously unraveled by love. His chemistry with the cast was electric, built on frustrated sighs and longing glances that kept audiences hooked for 6 years. He was the straight man in a chaotic house, a widower trying to keep his dignity intact while his world was turned upside down by hairspray and sequins. It was a performance of subtle brilliance, proving that sometimes the quietest character in the room holds the most power. However, the reality behind the handsome face was one of complex duality. While he played a wealthy producer on screen in real life, Shaughnessy bore the weight of true nobility, eventually inheriting the title of the 5th Baron Shaughnessy in 2007. But titles do not insulate one from the struggles of an actor's life. He faced the immense pressure of typecasting, the fear that the world would only ever see him as Mr. Sheffield. In an industry notorious for broken homes, he fought to keep his private life sacred, maintaining a marriage to Susan Fallender since 1983, a rare feat of endurance in Hollywood. His struggle was not one of scandal, but of maintaining authenticity in a world that often prefers the facade. As the years marched on, Shaughnessy refused to fade into the background of nostalgia. He reinvented himself, shedding the nice guy image to play darker, more complex roles in shows like The Magicians and Mad Men. He returned to his soap opera roots with a villainous turn on General Hospital, proving his range extended far beyond romantic comedy. As of late 2025, he remains a working actor, a partner in media ventures, and a voice that still commands attention. He did not let the legacy of the Sheffield mansion become a prison. Instead, he used it as a foundation. Today, Charles Shaughnessy stands as a testament to grace and longevity. Now, 70 years old, he wears his years with the same elegance he once wore his tuxedos. He remains a beloved figure not just as a baron or a sitcom star, but as a man who moved through the treacherous waters of fame without ever losing his soul. Madeline Zima as Gracie Sheffield. It takes a special kind of spirit to hold your own against comedic giants before you've even finished elementary school. Born on September 16, 1985. Madeline Zima was thrust into the spotlight when she was merely a toddler in commercials. She was just 8 years old when she walked onto the set of The Nanny. A tiny girl with big, intelligent eyes. While other children were playing in sandboxes, Zima was memorizing lines and hitting marks, displaying a precociousness that was both impressive and slightly heartbreaking. She didn't just stumble into the role, she was a professional in miniature ready to take on the world. Gracie Sheffield was the intellectual soul of the show, a neurotic little girl who often seemed like the only adult in the room. Zima played her with a deadpan delivery that was startling for her age, using complex vocabulary and therapy jargon to dissect the chaos around her. We loved her because she represented the vulnerability of a child trying to make sense of a motherless world. Her bond with Fran was the emotional core of the series, showing us how warmth and humor could heal a little girl who had forgotten how to be a child. It was a performance of profound maturity. But growing up under the glare of studio lights extracts a heavy toll. The transition from child star to adult actress is a graveyard for many careers filled with stories of addiction and despair. Zima faced the hidden truth of feeling like a prop in a machine, struggling to find her own identity when the world froze her in time as little Gracie. She had to fight tooth and nail to be taken seriously as an adult woman battling the industry's desire to keep her innocent forever. There were quiet years of rejection and reinvention where she had to prove that her talent wasn't just a parlor trick of childhood. She emerged from the shadows of her past with a vengeance, taking on gritty, challenging roles that shattered her sitcom image. From the seductress in Californication to the mysterious realms of Twin Peaks, Zima reconstructed her public persona brick by brick. By late 2025, she has established herself as a versatile character actress, unafraid of dark or controversial material. She survived the curse that claims so many young actors navigating the industry with a fierce independence and a refusal to be categorized. Madeline Zima is no longer the little girl with the therapy doll. At 40, she has grown into an actress defined less by survival and more by intention. Her story isn't about escaping the damage of early fame, but about reshaping it, proof that some child stars don't just endure the fire, they learn how to control it. Daniel Davis as Niles the Butler. Before he donned the apron, Daniel Davis was a man of the stage deeply rooted in the classics. Born on October 26, 1945. In the American South, he possessed a chameleon-like ability to transform his voice and demeanor. He was 48 years old when he accepted the role of Niles, bringing with him decades of theatrical discipline. It is a testament to his immense skill that he, an American from Arkansas, convinced the entire world he was a born and bred Englishman. He arrived at the role not as a comedian, but as a craftsman, ready to elevate a supporting character into a legend. Niles was the secret weapon of the Nanny. With an arched eyebrow and a cutting remark, he could dismantle the pretension of the Sheffield house, specifically C.C. Babcock, in seconds. We adored him because he was the audience's advocate, saying exactly what we were thinking, but with impeccable diction. His physical comedy, often overlooked, was brilliant, and his unexpected romance with his nemesis became one of the show's most satisfying arcs. He proved that servitude on screen didn't mean subservience. He was the true master of the domain. Yet the irony of his success was a strange burden to bear. Davis was so convincing in his role that he often struggled to get work as an American afterwards. The hidden truth of his career was the pigeonholing that came with perfection. Casting directors simply couldn't hear his natural voice through the echo of Niles' British accent. Furthermore, as a private man, he navigated an industry that was not always kind to aging character actors. He lived a life relatively free of tabloid scandal, but the quiet struggle of an artist yearning to show his full range beyond the butler's pantry was a constant companion. Refusing to be defined by a single role, Davis returned to his first love, the theater. He graced the stages of Broadway and beyond, reminding the world of his Shakespearean roots. He found a new legion of fans in the sci-fi world, reprising his role as Professor Moriarty in the Star Trek universe, proving his villainy was just as potent as his comedy. As of 2025, he remains a revered figure in the acting community, a man who treats the stage with religious reverence. Daniel Davis is a true treasure of the profession. Now 80, he stands as the elder statesman of the cast, dignified, sharp, and effortlessly commanding. His legacy belongs to a rare class of performers, the scene stealer who turned a supporting role into the heartbeat of a classic, proving that presence, not placement, is what audiences remember. Renee Taylor as Sylvia Fine. Renee Taylor was a force of nature long before she put on a wig to play Fran's mother. Born on March 19, 1933. She fought her way through the male-dominated world of comedy in the mid-20th century, By the time The Nanny premiered, she was 60 years old, a seasoned veteran who had already been nominated for an Oscar for writing. She didn't just act, she created, she wrote, she improvised. She brought a lifetime of observation and Jewish humor to the role, channeling the spirit of mothers everywhere who smother their children with love and guilt in equal measure. Sylvia Fine was a caricature that felt deeply real. With her insatiable appetite and her refusal to let her daughter live her own life, she was a comedic tornado. We loved her because she was unapologetic. She ate with gusto, she interfered with passion, and she loved fiercely. Taylor's performance was brave. She wasn't afraid to be loud, to be too much, or to use her physicality for a laugh. She embodied the universal truth of the mother-daughter dynamic. It is complicated, it is messy, and it is unbreakable. Behind the laughter, however, lay the poignant reality of aging in Hollywood and the deep bond of partnership. Taylor's life was inextricably linked to her husband Joseph Bologna, her collaborator and soulmate for over 50 years until his death in 2017. The hidden pain of losing such a partner is a silence that no applause can fill. Furthermore, she spent a career battling the fat mother stereotypes, often having to fight to show the glamour and intelligence that lay beneath the muumuus she wore on screen. Her one-woman shows later in life revealed a vulnerability about food and body image that the sitcom only hinted at. In the years following the show, Taylor defied the concept of retirement. She continued to work with a voracious energy, appearing in sitcoms and films well into her golden years. She took her life story to the stage, turning her personal history into art. In late 2025, she is still recognized as a comedic royalty, a woman who refused to go gently into that good night. She kept working, kept writing, and kept making us laugh. Renee Taylor is a surviving legend from a bygone era of comedy. At 92, she stands as the matriarch of the cast, carrying decades of timing, bite, and warmth in every line. Her legacy is built on endurance and wit, a reminder that talent doesn't fade with age, and that a mother's love and appetite are forever. Lauren Lane as CC Babcock. To play the perfect foil, one must possess a strong sense of self, and Lauren Lane had that in spades. Born on February 2, 1961. She was a classically trained actor ready to take on the world. She was 32 years old when she stepped into the high-heeled shoes of CC Babcock. Lane was not just playing a mean girl, she was constructing a complex antagonist who was as pathetic as she was powerful. She entered the show as the outsider, the one character designed to be unloved, a difficult task for any performer seeking connection with an audience. CC Babcock was the character we loved to hate but secretly rooted for. Lane played her with a delicious wickedness, yet she always allowed us to see the cracks in the armor. We saw the loneliness of a woman who chose career over family and who couldn't understand the warmth of the fine family. Her rivalry with Niles was the stuff of legend, a verbal tennis match that elevated the show's writing. Lane's brilliance lay in her ability to be the butt of the joke without ever losing her dignity. But playing the villain comes with a cost. The hidden truth for Lane was the isolation that can come with such a role and the shifting priorities of real life. While CC chased Maxwell, Lane chased something more tangible. In a move that shocked many, she turned her back on the glitz of Hollywood after the show ended. The pain of the industry, the constant judgment of appearance and age pushed her toward a different path. She chose to focus on raising her daughter, prioritizing the role of mother over the role of star, a sacrifice that spoke volumes about her character. She traded the sound stage for the lecture hall. Lane reinvented herself as an educator, becoming a professor and head of acting at a university in Texas. She dedicated her life to shaping the next generation of actors, passing on the wisdom she earned in the trenches of television. As of 2025, she still treads the boards of the theater occasionally, but her primary stage is the classroom. She found fulfillment not in fame, but in service to the craft. Lauren Lane proves that stepping away from Hollywood isn't defeat, it's authorship. At 64, her life unfolds far from red carpets, shaped instead by classrooms, canvases, and deliberate craft. Her legacy isn't measured in screen time, but in intelligence and integrity. A quiet lesson that sometimes the bravest ending is the one you write for yourself. Nicholle Tom as Maggie Sheffield. Adolescence is difficult enough without millions of people watching your every awkward phase. Born on March 23, 1978, Nicholle Tom was part of a gifted acting family destined for the screen. She was a tender, about 15 years old, when the show premiered, standing on the precipice of womanhood. She brought a gentle, wide-eyed innocence to the set, embodying the fragility of a teenage girl who had lost her mother and was desperate for a female role model. She was the quiet heart of the Sheffield children. Maggie Sheffield's journey was the journey of every teenage girl. We watched her navigate first dates, driving lessons, and the quest for popularity. Tom played her with a sweet vulnerability that made us want to protect her. We loved her because she allowed Fran to be the cool, big sister mother figure, and their dynamic was filled with touching moments of guidance. Seeing Maggie gain confidence under Fran's tutelage was one of the show's most rewarding slow-burn narratives. But life outside the mansion was not a sitcom script. The hidden truth for Tom was the struggle to find her footing in a ruthless industry after the show ended. Being a twin and having famous siblings meant constant comparison. She faced the quiet battles of an actor's life, the dry spells, the near misses, and the challenge of shedding the teenager image. While there were no explosive scandals, there was the silent grinding pressure to remain relevant in a town that worships youth, a pressure that can erode the spirit of even the most talented performers. Nicholle Tom persevered. She found a powerful niche in voice acting, lending her voice to the iconic character of Supergirl embodying strength and heroism. She continued to appear in dramas and thrillers, proving her range extended far beyond comedy. As of 2025, she is a working actress who has managed to keep her sanity and her career intact. She navigated the treacherous waters of child stardom without crashing against the rocks. Today, Nicholle Tom represents a quieter kind of resilience. At 47, she remains warmly remembered by fans who grew up alongside her. Her legacy isn't about spectacle, but continuity. The girl next door who navigated the machinery of fame matured beyond it and ultimately claimed a voice of her own both on screen and beyond it. Elizabeth Taylor as herself. She was Hollywood royalty, a living legend whose fame eclipsed everyone else on the screen. Born on February 27, 1932, Elizabeth Taylor had lived 1,000 lives before she ever met the Nanny. She was shocking 61 years old at the time of her appearance, carrying the history of the golden age of cinema in her very presence. She didn't need to act. She simply needed to be. Her arrival on the show was a validation of its success, a moment when the glitz of old Hollywood shook hands with the new television era. In the Black Pearl episode, she was luminous. We loved her not just for who she was, but for her willingness to play along with the absurdity of the sitcom format. She brought a gravity and a glamour that was palpable. Her interaction with the cast was a passing of the torch, a moment where the most famous woman in the world acknowledged the new queen of comedy. It remains one of the most iconic guest appearances in television history. Yet the diamond-clad exterior hid a life of immense physical and emotional suffering. The hidden truth of Elizabeth Taylor was a body racked with pain from scoliosis, near-death experiences, and respiratory illness. Her heart had been broken and mended through 8 marriages. She fought a relentless battle against AIDS, using her fame as a shield for those who were dying alone. Her tragedy was that her immense capacity for love often led to immense loss. She lived her life in the public eye, bleeding and healing for the world to see. Her journey ended before we reached 2025. She spent her final years as a warrior for charity, never ceasing her advocacy even as her health failed. She passed away on March 23, 2011. The world stopped to mourn the last true movie star. Elizabeth Taylor is no longer with us, yet her presence remains stitched into the fabric of culture itself. She left this world at 79, carrying with her a legacy that reached far beyond cinema. Her life spoke not only in performances, but in conviction proof that glamour means little without courage, and that a true star shines brightest when its light is turned outward toward others. Benjamin Salisbury as Brighton Sheffield. In every family there is the joker, the one who uses humor as a defense mechanism. Born on October 19, 1980, Benjamin Salisbury was a talented young dancer and actor who captured that energy perfectly. He was just 13 years old when he became Brighton, Sheffield. With a mischievous grin and a knack for comedic timing, he held his own against the adult actors. He wasn't the brooding teen or the cute kid. He was the cynical observer, the audience surrogate who pointed out the absurdity of it all. Brighton was the character who most resisted the nanny's charm, which made his eventual acceptance of her all the more sweet. We loved him for his biting sarcasm and his rivalry with his sister. Salisbury played him with a natural ease, never forcing the joke. He represented the awkward middle phase of boyhood, where one tries desperately to be cool while secretly craving affection. It was a performance that felt honest and unpretentious. However, when the cameras stopped rolling, Salisbury faced a crossroads that few child stars navigate successfully. The hidden truth was the realization that the Hollywood life might not be the dream everyone imagines. He saw the shallowness, the instability, and the pressure. Instead of chasing the next role, he made the difficult, brave decision to step back. There is a specific kind of pain in letting go of a golden ticket, a lingering what if that must haunt the quiet moments. He chose anonymity over adulation. Salisbury disappeared into the fabric of normal America. He went to college, he got a job, he built a life. He eventually became the director of operations for industrial presentations at Universal Studios. He stayed adjacent to the industry, but on his own terms. As of 2025, he is a man who defines himself by his work and his family, not by a character he played decades ago. He found peace in the ordinary. Benjamin Salisbury is the one who slipped away and did so on his own terms. At 45, he stands as a quiet example of what a normal, dignified life can look like after fame. His legacy isn't measured in credits or headlines, but in the simple reminder that success has many forms, and sometimes the best role to play is simply yourself. Elton John as himself. He was the Rocket Man, a global phenomenon clad in rhinestones and oversized glasses. Born on March 25, 1947. Elton John was already a living myth by the 90s. He was 46 years old when he cameoed on The Nanny, a superstar at the peak of his powers. He didn't come from an acting background, but from the gritty clubs of London, having fought his way to the top of the charts. His appearance was a testament to the show's cultural impact. Even Sir Elton wanted to be part of the fun. In his appearance, he was the ultimate prize for Fran Fine, the embodiment of her pop culture obsessions. We loved seeing him struggle to play the piano while Fran assaulted him with enthusiasm. It was a moment of pure joy, a collision of two very different types of flamboyance. He brought a sense of event television to the series, reminding viewers that The Nanny was the place to be. But the man behind the piano had walked a road paved with glass. The hidden truth of Elton John's life is a harrowing tale of addiction, bulimia, and a desperate search for love. For years, he masked his pain with drugs and excess, hiding his sexuality and his loneliness behind outrageous costumes. He watched friends die during the AIDS crisis, a tragedy that broke him and then rebuilt him as a humanitarian. His smile on camera hit a survivor who had looked into the abyss and decided to fight his way back. Decades later, Elton John has achieved a state of grace. He found true love, married David Furnish, and became a father, a dream he once thought impossible. He launched a massive farewell tour saying goodbye to the road to focus on his family. By late 2025, he has retired from touring, but remains a musical and philanthropic giant. He transformed his pain into the Elton John AIDS Foundation, saving millions of lives. Sir Elton John belongs to that rare class of artists who feel immortal while still among us. 78 years into a life lived at full volume, he stands as a beacon of redemption as much as brilliance. His legacy isn't only the songs the world knows by heart, but the life he fought to reclaim his own, and the countless others he helped find their way back into the light. Anne Morgan Guilbert as Yetta Rosenberg. Before she was Grandma Yetta, Anne Morgan Guilbert was already a television staple. Born on October 16, 1928. She had honed her comedic timing in the golden age of the 1960s on The Dick Van Dyke Show. She was 165 years old when she joined The Nanny, bringing with her a lifetime of experience. She wasn't just an old lady reading lines. She was a master technician of comedy, knowing exactly how to pause, how to squint, and how to deliver a zinger for maximum impact. Yetta was the chaotic element of the family, a woman whose grip on reality was loose, but whose spirit was unbreakable. We adored her because she was free. She smoked, she gambled, she thought the toaster was a radio, and she loved her family unconditionally. Guilbert played her with a fearless commitment to the gag, making Yetta one of the most memorable grandmothers in sitcom history. She was the glittery, confused glue that held the fine women together. Yet the woman who made us laugh faced the somber realities of mortality. The hidden truth was her quiet battle with cancer and the loss of 2 husbands. She lived through the grief of widowhood not once, but twice, losing her second husband just as The Nanny was ending. She belonged to a generation of actors who did not complain, who showed up to work through the pain, and who treated comedy as a serious business. Her struggle was private, dignified, and heartbreakingly human. She continued to work until the very end, appearing in modern shows like Getting On and Life in Pieces, proving that funny has no expiration date. She never retired. She simply kept giving. However, the final curtain eventually fell. She passed away on June 14, 2016, leaving a void in the comedy world that can never be filled. Anne Morgan Guilbert left us smiling the way she lived. She passed at 87, but her presence lingers in the laughter she gave to millions. Her legacy isn't etched in age or time, but in the simple truth she embodied. Growing older doesn't mean growing dull, and as long as laughter survives, so do we. Ray Charles is Sammy Jones. Ray Charles, the genius, transformed music, forever blending genres to forge the very soul of a nation. Born Ray Charles Robinson on September 23, 1930 in Albany, Georgia, his unparalleled artistry pioneered a sound that resonated across generations. While his legendary career as the father of soul defined him, he also charmed audiences later in life with a notable recurring role. As Sammy Jones, the soulful fiancé of Grandma Yetta on The Nanny between 1997 and 1998, Charles, then in his late 60s, brought his unique charisma to the screen, cementing his status as a beloved figure in popular culture. A shadow fell over Ray Charles's early life, plunging him into darkness both literally and emotionally. He began losing his sight at 4 or 5, completely blind by age 7, due to glaucoma, a profound sensory loss. Even more harrowing, at just 5 years old, he witnessed the tragic drowning of his younger brother George, an event that haunted him deeply. Later, Charles battled a relentless heroin addiction for nearly 2 decades, culminating in a 1965 arrest. He overcame this struggle, finding sobriety that endured for the rest of his life. Yet a final insidious illness emerged: liver disease, specifically alcoholic liver disease and hepatitis C, which ultimately claimed this legendary voice. Ray Charles passed away on June 10, 2004 at his home in Beverly Hills, California, at the age of 73, after a life of immense musical achievement and personal struggle. In his final years, he bravely underwent hip replacement surgery in 2003, only to be diagnosed with severe liver disease, the complications of which ultimately led to his passing. His final masterpiece, Genius Loves Company, a collection of poignant duets, was released posthumously, serving as a testament to his enduring artistry and earning multiple Grammy Awards. Charles's legacy as the genius continues to resonate, his music forever echoing as the soundtrack of soul. Céline Dion as herself. Céline Dion, the undeniable queen of power ballads, soared into global superstardom with a voice that transcended borders and touched millions of hearts. Born Céline Marie Claudette Dion on March 30, 1968, in Charlemagne, Quebec, she emerged from a humble, poverty-stricken background as the youngest of 14 children. Her destiny as a vocal titan was evident from an early age, culminating in her iconic performance of My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, which she delivered at the age of 29 in 1997, solidifying her legendary status. Growing up in profound poverty as the youngest of 14 children in rural Quebec set the stage for a life marked by tenacity, yet it was shadowed by immense personal grief. In a devastating turn of events in 2016, Dion endured the crushing loss of her beloved husband and manager, Renee, to cancer. Just 2 days later, tragedy struck again as her brother also succumbed to the disease, plunging her into a period of profound mourning. Further compounding her struggles in December 2022, Dion publicly disclosed her battle with stiff person syndrome, SPS, a rare and merciless neurological disorder. She had grappled with its debilitating symptoms, progressive muscle rigidity, and agonizing spasms for 17 years, even resorting to dangerously high doses of Valium in a desperate attempt to find relief. This incurable illness has cruelly diminished her ability to sing and walk, threatening to silence one of the world's most iconic voices. Céline Dion is currently living and continues her courageous fight against stiff person syndrome, which forced the cancellation of her Courage World Tour in 2022. Despite the relentless health challenges, she is actively engaged in rigorous therapy with a sports medicine therapist, striving to regain her strength and vocal prowess. Her determination shines through surprise appearances, including the 2023 Grammy Awards and a performance at the 2024 Paris Olympics opening ceremony. A documentary, I Am Céline Dion, offering a raw look into her condition, premiered on Prime Video in June 2024. As of December 30th, 2025, she is 57 years old, continuing to share glimpses of her life, such as a Thanksgiving message in November 2025, and a humorous holiday video as the Grinch in December 2025, cementing her legacy as a resilient icon. The lipstick has faded, and the mansion is silent. Standing here in late 2025, the absence of Grandma Yetta is a heartbreaking reality we still haven't accepted. We honor the fragile strength of Fran Drescher and the cast who fought silent battles with illness and industry rejection. They taught us that no matter how hard life hits you, you put on your highest heels and laugh right back in its face. Good night, Miss Fine. You turned your pain into our joy.